Hey everybody, hi, my name is Dave Tomorrow, and if you're watching this video, what's probably happened is you've gotten your copy of the report I've sent out, okay? We're sending out, starting tomorrow, 100 copies of the report that I've compiled, and we've got another 100 copies coming in to send out, okay? Here's the first one that's going out tomorrow, and everything thereafter. So, what this is a companion video for this report. And what I'd like to do is, there's a lot of in the weeds stuff here. How can you save $500 million per year with the federal government in your position, whether you be a congressman, senator on the House or Senate Armed Services Subcommittee, or if you're an inspector with DCIS or any of the other inspector generals I've talked to, or SCS or whatever. So real quick, as quick as I can, I'm going to go through some of the weeds with you. All right. So if you pick up your report right here, you've got your forward. Okay. Just go through there, scan. You've got the mailing list. This is not all everybody I'm getting them to. Okay. Here's a forward. Okay. I'm going to basically lay it out in a nutshell what's going on, how and why and when. What's going on and how it can be fixed. Okay? So that's it. Job creation. This is actually shows how many jobs are being created by the Humvees have been put out there already, and how many jobs can be created if the rest of the Humvee fleet is released, along with the 977 fleet and all that. Okay? It's amazing how many, and I've got this through third-party research, going around, seeing how many small businesses and everything have been created with these. Because every vehicle out there that gets released is going to need parts, modification, and all this. And those are U.S. jobs. They're not, these are the jobs that the DOD has started with and continues on with these vehicles in the civilians' hands. Here's your fact sheet. Read them. Get pissed off, please. On the fact sheet, if you have any question on the numbers that you have here, call me. My number is 254-535-5490. Please go ahead, call me. I can direct you where I got the information where I'm using to base this this document. Okay. All right. Next one is going to be the initial report that I put out a few months ago. All right, this is the initial report. Go ahead and go through there. It's got a lot of facts and everything about the differences between some of the different Humvees, what can be sold, what can't right now, armor and lack of armor on the Humvees, and it ends with the DOD's own regulations on what is armor, what is not, and such. So go ahead and go through there. Again, any questions, 254-535-5490. Moving on, we got the Humvee sheet. You notice only one of these Humvees can be sold right now. The other ones that are not circled are the same ECCN number pretty much. All right, if they're not the same ECCN number, they can easily be modified to fit that. Okay, the ones circled right here, all they have to do is be de-armored, and there's been jobs created by people de-armoring the Humvees and selling them after that. And the thing is, you'd say, okay, you got a Humvee, the armor really just pops right off. It just unbolts, and you take a cutting torch, it comes off. You have base Humvee right there that used to haul 12,000 pounds of armor, and now it's down to 4,000 or 5,000 pounds. Well, guess what? The volunteer fire departments are desperately needing those, because a regular Humvee, it can only hold about 200 gallons. If you take that unarmored or that armored Humvee, take the armor off of it, the GSA would absolutely love them. The 12,000 fire departments in the country would love them, because now you take a Humvee that can carry 200 gallons. Guess what? Now it can carry over 500 gallons. Okay, that's more than doubling the capacity. Okay, next one is again DOD's own flow chart. This was put out last February. It's not an old document. This puts out the flow chart for the vehicles that Mr. Garrett is not following. Not at all. All you got to do is do that, match it up with the questions and everything, and that's it. Now, the next thing is the March 27, 2017. This is the ECCN verification. this states that those Humvees that are being crushed are the same ECCN 0 Alpha 606 Alpha that can be exported, that can be sold, that can be owned by civilians. There's no regulations against them. This comes from DITSA, Defense Technology, I forget what the S stands for, Association, and they're in the Pentagon. They tell what the Department of Commerce can sell overseas and can't. So this is a combination of the Department of Commerce and the Department or DITSA on Department of Commerce letterhead, right there. You have a copy of it. Now the funny thing about that is I have a March email right after that from Mr. Garrett. If you read that down there where the circle says untrue, it says as of today, the vehicles we're talking about are not ECCN 0 Alpha 606 Alpha vehicles, so he can't release them as DML code Q. Read that. Now, really important here, if you look up here in the corner that I've circled, this is something I sent to him and he sent me back with this stuff on here. Now up here, it's got the email that I had sent him with this number on it. So he's saying in this email that the vehicles he's talking about are not yet, as of today, ECCN 0 Alpha 606 Alpha, when he had a copy of it attached to the document saying that they were. So he told me he refused to look at any of the documents that I had been provided, and he would not call Department of Commerce. If that is not dereliction of duty, I don't know what is, because he was telling everybody they were getting $5,000 per crushed Humvee, untrue, $148, and that the Department of Commerce was dragging their heels. He told me flat out the Department of Commerce was dragging their heels. He would love to sell the vehicles, but he can't do it. Okay? This is a proof that he's been not telling the truth. Okay, next one is from Angel Rivera, DOD, okay? He's saying that for these vehicles to be released, the armor has to be removed. Problem with that is there is no armor. No armor on these vehicles. He's demanding the vehicles have their armor removed. Before that, he'll authorize DML code to be changed, and we have offered to supply him pictures of the vehicles with the armor removed, because there is none, but he refused to do that, and that goes back, and he says on there, you know, when I talked to him about it, he said Mr. Garrett had told him not to release any of them. He could, but Mr. Garrett had told him not to release them. Now, here's again from Mr. Garrett, where he went and he, this is February. Now, remember, all these vehicles were ECCN coded last year, but they were taken off the USML and CCL 4 years ago, which means for the last 4 years that you guys have been crushing these vehicles, or DOD's been crushing these vehicles, they could have been sold. There's nothing keeping them from being sold. Department of State, Department of Congress, DOD had all said that they're fully able to be released, nothing sensitive, nothing classified on them. Okay, but moving on. Here he is telling himself, if you look down here, he tells himself that he's moving everything from DML code A to DML code Q6. Now that's every vehicle that is being released, okay? Went from DML code Alpha to Q6, okay? Now what happens is when you guys sell the vehicles, they go from Alpha, which 60, 70-year-old 2.5 ton truck or old Chevy pickup truck or whatever, it goes from you can sell it to all of a sudden you have to sell it only in the United States, and by the way, they have to have up to a 6-month-long background check for them to be sold. What means is when third-party contractors get to sell them, the amount of money you guys get back is basically cut in half, because nobody wants to buy a truck they can't touch for 6 months. So you lost a ton of cash when he did that. And if you look back here, he's saying that he had to do it because Commerce Department told him to do it. Commerce Department never said that. Matter of fact, that Mr. Stoddard at the Department of Commerce said that Mr. Garrett was taking his codings out of context and doing that on his own. And if you wonder why, it's because Mr. Garrett has no boss. He literally is GS-14 running amok, has no boss in my opinion. Not in my opinion. Other people all through here have said that. Because he works directly for the Department of Defense, Undersecretary of Defense for Logistics. Well, there is no Undersecretary of Defense for Logistics right now. There hasn't been for going on almost a year now. So what he's been doing, right when the Undersecretary left, he started changing the stuff by himself. This wasn't going on beforehand. He has been doing that since then. Okay? All right. This is from Mr. Stoddard at the State Department. He's blown away that this is happening. Okay? He's stating right here, next page, that it's got to be a local policy. DOD cannot be doing this. Okay? Next one is, again, from Mr. Stoddard. And you got to understand, Mr. Stoddard is a senior export compliance specialist, Munition Control Division. It's important because Garrett is throwing around, it's on the USML. It's USML on the USML. It's on the USML. Here's a guy who's in charge of the USML saying, that guy's lying. Okay, now, the next email you're going to run into is from the GSA. Cynthia Gardner, the senior GSA for distribution or disposition services, said that, by the way, what the DOD is doing is probably against against the law, because here you have the executive order from Mr. Trump or President Trump about regulations, rules, and regulations, everything. Read it yourself. She agrees that it's probably illegal what he's doing. Or against. Okay, next one is Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin is he's senior guy up at TACOM. How is this happening? Nobody can understand how this is happening, because 1045s are being released through the Marines. Marines said, "Screw you, Garrett. We're doing it." Okay. Again, here's more stuff from Mr. Gavin. Background information. All right. Now, one of the things that Mr. Garrett threw up there for a little bit until he was shot down was he was telling everybody that the executive order 13688 prevented him from changing email codes. It went from Department of State, Department of Commerce, GSA, executive order, and he's pretty much run out of rules or run out of stuff, because that executive order says nothing about what to do with Humvees. You know, it doesn't. It says when the police department is done with them, they can sell them. All right, another little tidbit. When I was talking to him, he told me that he looked at the technical manual once, all right, and said that it says on there it's armored. Okay, this was the first vehicle that the military had ever had that you had the choice between a soft top and a hard top. Okay, all right, and so since the book said it was armored, he told me, you're gonna love this. His office told me that I have to track down the people who wrote the book and get them to change the designation of the vehicle on the book. If I could, I'm not making this up, if I could find the people who wrote the book and they would change the cover of the book, then they could release the vehicles. And that doesn't work that way. It was just nuts. By the way, this came out in April 1985. The book was actually first printed in 1983. The problem with that is, here's the U.S. Department of Justice paperwork. Now, the way that the regulations are set forth for the DOD is armored vehicles are only armored if they're Class 3, according to the International Institute of Justice. Okay, so they're all saying that the vehicle is armored because the book said it's armored. The problem is, those standards weren't put out, if you turn the page, until September 1985. When I talked to the guys at DLA, they didn't know this. They thought that the armor tests had gone back to the 40s, okay? This is when the Class 1, 2, and 3, and 4 armor came out, designations came out. Now, if you go to the next section, which was just nuts, you know. If you go to the next section, which is the DOD's own policy, DOD 4160.28, Volume 2, March 2017. Again, very new. All you got to do is go to this section, it's online. Look at ground vehicles listed in paragraph, trailers that are or especially designated, they have to be specially designated to be a launch platform, okay? The vehicles are not specifically designed to be a launch platform. They can be used to launch things, but the vehicle itself is not specifically a launch platform, okay? You got to put an adapter on an adapter on an adapter on an adapter to put a weapon on there. And if you skip through it and you go to part 2, military described in the CCL, you're going to see that it doesn't meet the requirements to go to Class C. It's supposed to be Q. All of them are that are not up armored. Okay? Just go ahead, flip through it, and you'll see that what he's doing is against rules. Now, at the end of that, again, from their own book, it sets down the armor guidelines. You have to be able to shoot. The requirement is you have to be able to shoot that vehicle 5 times with the M14/M60 machine gun with 7.62 by 51 cartridge 5 times, and none of the bullets can go through. Well, I can tell you, if you shoot a Humvee 5 times with a 7.62, you're going to have 5 holes in it. 5 holes going in this side, 5 holes going through the other side. It will go right through the vehicle. All right, now, here's another thing. He doesn't want to tell you this, but the Marines have been going around him. Here's the rules and regulations and everything for demilling the Marine Humvees. Now, the Marines have said that they're not going to stand by and let their vehicles get crushed, and so they're selling their vehicles. The problem with that is that just for spite, Mr. Garrett, from what I understand, I've talked to the Marines out there that have been dealing with him. I've talked to DLA people. They're all just thoroughly, they've had it with him. Because what's happened is, those vehicles were selling for $70,000 a piece. Perfectly good vehicles. Well, what he decided to do was he decided to up the demil, okay, to them. In other words, if you go to the very back of the book, you've got this page right here. If you look at the dates on these vehicles and you look them up on Iron Planet, the vehicles that were selling in March, okay, they were complete. They had the doors, the turret, ring, and all. And by the way, DITSA, that's not a turret ring to them. There's no gun mount on it. There's no nothing. There's no shell. There's no. It's just a spinning piece of metal. They said you do not have to classify or cut it up. Along with back in March, they were getting $50,000 per vehicle. Well, Mr. Garrett had a flippin' conniption fit. So what he did was he took the doors off and said, they won't sell if the doors are off. They sold for $30,000. So what he did was he decided he wanted the glass smashed in them. All the glass in them, they're still selling for $25,000. Now what he's done is he's cut the roll bar that makes the vehicle unsafe. He cut it, or made him take it out and cut it, and so now you've got a vehicle with no windows, no doors, the top's been cut, the safety equipment inside has been dismantled intentionally, and you're still getting $18,000 for him, and that's driving him back crazy, okay? So he's trying to cut off all sales of them. All right, next thing you're going to run into is my DOD hotline report. There it is. Please call DOD, give them that timestamp and everything that's on there, and you have my permission. Oh, by the way, you have my permission to print out anything in this book, emails or whatever, okay? All right, now, back in May, okay, these vehicles were, a whole field of them were sitting at Fort Bragg. They're really nice vehicles. They had about 1,000, 2,000 miles on them, okay, from what I was understanding. They sold for $148 a piece. Running, ready to go. They're selling for $50,000 a piece online, okay, as they were sitting. 50 grand. We got paid, or we, when I say the government, taxpayer, or whatever, $148, and they drove them to the scrapyard. These are soft-skinned vehicles. They have soft doors on them. There's nothing wrong with them. They can be sold, but because they're a different NSN, he's refusing to let them be sold. So, that was over a cost of $3 million just that one day. Fort Hood right now, there's about $5 million worth of them sitting there. And they'll be gone by the time you see this video. Just like Fort Polk, I saw 50, I think 50 of them that are going to be crushed and by the time you watch this video. So just in the last few days, we've done, what, 25, $30 million in the last few days. And this is not, you know, it goes, it was M1113, okay? That's just one of the tags, okay? And you got it in your packet. And this is what it looked like. This is the same vehicle. Now, the third-party contractor, the scrap dealer, took the engine, the bumpers, a lot of the other stuff off it, and they sold. Now, the problem is, well, the thing great for them is when they bring a vehicle in and they're getting ready to scrap it, the vehicle parts are all gone within an hour. All they do is put it online. You can go on their website and you can see. And I'm not against them at all. You know, they're just doing what they're doing, except for the fact of there's no way that, you know, you can. I just don't buy the $148 and nobody's getting a kickback. But that's my personal opinion. But yeah, they're making $7,000 per vehicle. The government, and DOD is getting $148 back. But the thing is, you've got to transport them too at a cost of about $1,500. So we're losing about $1,300 per transaction per vehicle. And when you think about it, we've got right now about 400,000 vehicles in storage and in production or in the inventory that we're going to be dealing with over the next few years. 400,000. You know, a lot of them will be sold overseas and whatever, but that's a lot of them. Look at this. This is from Iron Planet. When you're looking at this piece of paper, understand the prices right here aren't what they're asking for. That's what they sold for. Every Humvee that Iron Planet has gotten and gone out there has sold. I'm not talking for $50. I'm talking for a lot of money. So if you're in the government and you are watching this video and you haven't gotten your copy yet, please contact me. Again, 254-535-5490. Contact me and I will send you one. If you're private, whatever. Send me $5 because I'm doing this on my dime. Nobody's paying me to do this. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm a taxpayer. I got my daughter here, and she's my camera person. And my thing right now is, this is our taxpayers' money. I mean, you've got spouses. I had a spouse come to me yesterday telling me that their benefits are getting cut. And when we went through and looked at it, yeah, their benefits are getting cut. Okay. And it's not getting any better, and the reason is the DOD doesn't have any money. Claire McCaskill, you demanded that the Marines purchase 24 F-18s last year. They refused to because they don't have the money. All right? You got to understand, this is one GS-14. One GS-14 who has, since his boss has gone away, has gone, in my opinion, absolutely amok. And he's done immeasurable harm to the DOD's budget. And please, if you have the ability to ask this guy what's going on, please, because the last time I asked for an investigation, what happened was they went and put this on his desk and said, "Are you doing anything illegal?" He said no, and it was all good. Now I got that back from a senior person at the DLA, okay? And when you have the DLA agreeing with me that they've wasted $350 million, they didn't say $500 million. They said, "Oh, we just wasted $350 million on these vehicles." Then something's wrong when they're acknowledging the fact that they're tossing all that money. So please, if you got one of these books, please, please, please investigate, because I guarantee you, once you go in and you start digging, ask them these questions. Have you checked with the Department of Commerce to see if it's allowed to go? Is it an ECCN item? Is it a CCL item? Or is it a USML item? And he's going to lie his ass off, okay? If he's still there. Because here's the thing. I've got several people in his own office, that have told me he's dropped his retirement paperwork in. Now, as we all know, when you shine your light on cockroaches and stuff, they run towards the door. So, I do know that there is an investigation going on right now. I ask you to include this into your investigation also. Look into it. Stop this stuff. Stop selling these vehicles as scrap today. Put a hold on this. If you're in Congress, you can do it. Just say, "Hey, you've wasted $500 million. We're going to cut $500 million from your budget until you look in this." Okay? please do it. I'm a retired